Well folks, it's finally here. The GoPro Hero Max 2 has finally arrived. I'm just kidding, this isn't the Hero Max 2. This is the Max 2. Like, this joke seems familiar to anybody. I feel like I've gone down this route before. Anyway, I'm here with a review of this camera and tell you my honest thoughts on it. And since this is such a special review, I didn't even stay in the Pacific Northwest for this one. Nope. For this special review, I decided to take this camera somewhere very sunny and very, very warm. So sit back, relax, and enjoy, because this is DemonView's review of the GoPro Hero Max 2, which I decided to take to Florida. Hi there, welcome back to the channel. I do appreciate you tuning in. Now, as you may know from my previous video, I was pretty much on the fence about buying this GoPro Hero Max 2. Just kidding, this isn't the Max 2, this is the Max 2. But I bet you couldn't tell, could you? And that's kind of an interesting thing about this camera. I mean, if you've used a Max, then there's pretty much no learning curve to using the Max 2 on the surface. It seems like nothing much has changed. But let me tell you, this new camera does have some tricks up its sleeve. Now, I originally was going to make this video here in the Pacific Northwest, and I had already started doing some filming with it. However, since now it's approaching that kind of dark autumn winter days here, I didn't think it would be completely fair and be able to show off everything that this camera could do in such kind of dark weather. So instead of just sitting here in the DemonView production studio, I decided it would be best to take this camera somewhere sunny, somewhere warm, somewhere on the other side of the country. So I hopped on a jet airplane and flew to Matlacha, Florida. Now, as you can see, here's the camera mounted on the top of the car. I'm just reframing this very quickly in the GoPro Player software. Now, this was attached to the top of the car with a magnetic mount, not a huge amount of clearance. Usually if I'm recording video footage, I'll have it mounted much higher up. But as you can see, the colors kind of really do pop here, and the image is actually very clear for a 360 camera. Like I said, that's because you're getting that true 8K image out of the GoPro Hero Max 2. This hasn't been kind of color graded as such. This is the color straight out of the camera that you're seeing. So it's not been overly processed. It wasn't shot in GP log. This is what you can expect to see on a nice sunny day when you hit record on the camera. So the first thing that strikes me about the GoPro Max 2 is the image quality in the daylight. After using the Max for about a year and really loving the image quality you can get from that camera, the Max 2 really does blow it out of the water. A perfect example here would be this test footage. I've zoomed in on the DemonView logo there, and you can make it out a bit, but it's still kind of blurry, and that's because after you've reframed 360 footage, you're looking maybe about 1080p from that 5.6K. You can see the car passing by there, it looks okay, but yeah, it's still kind of fuzzy looking. But if I pan the camera around to the left here, you can see the lenses of the Max 2 camera, which is actually mounted beside the original Max. So the stitching on this, it's good, but it's not going to kind of like extend around having something mounted beside it. But now let's take a look at the Max 2. And as you can see with this footage here, it is much brighter and it seems to pop just that little bit more. If I look down at that DemonView logo, you can actually make it out. It is much, much clearer. And then if we decide to do a slow bit of a pan up here and look at the car as it overtakes us, yeah, you can actually see a lot more detail on the car than you could. In fact, if I zoom right in, you're still seeing a lot of detail on that car. But yeah, the interesting thing now is, like I said, the original Max was mounted right beside this. And if I turn around, as you can see, you can barely see the front lens of that camera. In fact, if I'd lined that up a little bit better, you wouldn't have seen that camera at all. So that's pretty amazing to me that the Max 2 can actually have such a wide field as it stitches around an object. And that's pretty handy later on, especially when it comes to running external cables into your camera, or, you know, having it mounted in a different type of case or something. I think the stitching on this camera is just kind of spookily good. That true 8K resolution does just seem so much more crisp and clear compared to the Max. So while I love the Max 2 really does step it up a notch when it comes to amazing daylight video, all in 10-bit color. However, it wasn't just about daylight video. GoPro decided in all their wisdom to give the Max 2 the same night effects as you find in the GoPro Hero 11 cameras and later. So now you can film a night lapse or star trails all in glorious 360 degrees, and I have to admit, the results are pretty fantastic. Let's take a look at this 360-degree night lapse that I captured down in Florida, and as you can see, you can really make out the details in the sky there. The clouds look fantastic, but I'm actually doing a pan and zoom and look around here, and I have to admit, it's really, really good. The fact that I can actually do that, something you can't do with non-360 cameras, I really enjoyed doing it. Just watch this sunset as I pan around here in 360 degrees, and it really looks crisp, clear, the colors just pop, and watch the rays of sunlight as they filter through the clouds. That just looks absolutely amazing. Then take a look at the star trails I filmed back at my house. Once again, I can pan around, move the camera around while filming those star trails, and that's something I really didn't get to do before when using a non-360 camera. The fact that I can do this in 360 now just kind of adds another level of impressiveness, I'd say, to everything that I can do. And I'm really looking forward to playing with star trails more. Hopefully the weather cooperates. But yeah, I just really, really love playing with this 360-degree night lapse features. I'm looking forward to doing more of it. Another thing that I'm very happy with is the ability to pair a Bluetooth microphone to the camera and record audio even when the camera is mounted out of reach. Now, the quality of the audio will be determined by the type of Bluetooth device that you're using. If you're using a pair of ear pods or similar, expect to get audio that's about the quality of a bad phone call. And this is because ear pods are usually used for listening to music at high quality, but making average quality phone calls. If, however, you can invest in something like the DJI Mic 2, then you can expect a significant upgrade in the audio quality.
So here we are recording with the GoPro Max 2. Now I'm connected to the Bluetooth microphone, which is the DJI Mic 2. And just kind of doing a test here. Let's pretend I was making a fishing video. Would this actually work for that? Who knows? I mean, first of all, you have to have a really awesome hat like this to look stylish. And of course, a DemonView t-shirt.
Now, added to all of this is the fact that the Max 2 can also film in GP log, which allows you to professionally color grade your image in post for even better quality output. Not that you'll need to, because GoPro's own color profile in the Max 2 is about one of the best I've ever seen. So, high quality images, glorious night shots, Bluetooth audio, GP log, I mean, is there anything this camera can't do? Well, unfortunately, yes. Yes, there are things this camera can't do. In fact, there's quite a lot of things this camera can't do. Let's take a look. So number one, and this is probably the one thing on everybody's mind, and it's kind of a case of forget about low light or night filming with this camera. It's terrible. Unlike the Insta360 X5 or the DJI Osmo 360, GoPros are not using 1-inch sensors in their camera, and the results in low light, it's not just bad, I mean, it's just plain ugly. Seriously, check out the amount of noise in that shot. In low light. This is about 7:14 a.m. in the morning, so it actually was pretty low light. Then you have this really large heatsink on the front of the camera, and boy does it need it. If you're filming action with this action camera, overheating isn't going to be a factor. However, if you're trying to vlog with this camera on a tripod, then this camera is going to get hot, very hot, and it's likely going to shut down due to overheating. Now, for long-time viewers of my channel, you know how I feel about GoPro overheating, and that is it can be simply prevented by setting your camera up properly for the type of filming that you're doing. However, in this case, other than reducing screen brightness, if you're trying to record 8K and 360 mode in a static camera, there's not much you're going to be able to change in the way of settings to prevent overheating, so expect to see lots of complaints about overheating from people who think walking is actually action. It's not. Which kind of brings up several questions about this Max 2. Just kidding, this is the GoPro Max, this here is the Max 2. But it kind of feels like a Max. I mean, yeah, they're kind of similar looking, as you can tell, just like the offset in the lens on that heatsink is the only really kind of way you can tell by looking at it. But it also feels like a Max, and I mean, yeah, sure, the Max 2's got some extra bells and whistles, but it just doesn't feel like a huge upgrade, even though technically it is a huge upgrade. So the first question would be, what the hell, GoPro? I mean, this camera was due to be released in Q2 of last year, and then it was pulled from released what seemed to be last second, and it was pushed into Q3. Then in Q3, we were told it'd be released in Q4, and finally we were told the camera wouldn't be released until 2025, sometime. Well, it's been a whole year since that missed release date, and well, honestly, this camera feels like it should have been released in 2023. I mean, GoPro, you do realize you've released this camera in September, when the days are getting shorter, the evenings are getting longer, And this doesn't even film in low light. I mean, if you spent the extra year on the release date because you had to switch to 1-inch sensors, I would have understood the delay. Or maybe you would have thought, hey, it needs the GP3 processor in it, so you delayed it so you could put one in. Only to realize it wasn't going to be ready in time, so you kind of just released it as is. I mean, come on GoPro, I mean, what the hell? And then we have the software. The GoPro Player app is still the same GoPro Player we've been using since the Max was around. And sure, you've given us Hyper Smooth Pro for free now, which reminds me, I need to downgrade my subscription. There's no point in paying for it now. But if you're in a Windows environment, you still can't export footage and retain GPS data, even though this is available in the Mac version. And GoPro have all sorts of excuses for this, but not a single consumer-friendly solution. So if you're expecting to update Google Street View with the Max 2, think again. So with all those features missing, I guess this GoPro is going to go straight in a cubicle receptacle area, also known as a bin. Yeah, I mean, it's got a lot of missing features, and that's probably the best place for it. Only it's not. You see, I did mention this GoPro had a few tricks up its sleeve, and I wasn't lying about that. In fact, this GoPro has quite a few impressive tricks up its sleeve, and we're going to look at the features that might just save this camera. You see, GoPro has a little side project called GoPro Labs, and this is a special release firmware that basically just sits on top of your normal firmware but unlocks extra features in the camera. If you want the highest bitrate of any consumer level 360 camera, well guess what? With GoPro Labs, you can set the bitrate in the Max 2 up to 300 megabits per second. You'll consume more battery life, you'll take up more space, you'll run a lot hotter, but if you want professional level imagery from a 360 camera, now you have the option. You can also enable iframe or intra-frame recording, and that, as far as I know, is a first for any action camera out there. And if you're working with 3D models in real space, you can use HDRI mode to create your own HDRI environments. I mean, GoPro even made a handy web page for letting you see your results or just create your own HDRI shots. And remember how I talked about how bad the picture was when shooting in low light? Well, you can vastly improve that by disabling noise reduction, increasing your ISO, then denoising in post manually. I mean, now you can get quite acceptable night shots out of the Max 2 thanks to the GoPro Labs firmware. I mean, what if you want to set up your cameras using GPS speed triggers? So let's say you're filming in a video cityscape, you can have your camera stop recording when you're stopped at a set of traffic lights, and then start recording once you start moving like over 5 miles an hour. And that kind of really does help for those long pauses when you're doing time-lapse drive shots. I mean, that's something I quite like myself. Or what if you want to use an extended time-lapse feature to record time-lapses over a number of days, weeks, or even months? Well, that is all possible with GoPro Labs firmware. You can even enable or disable audio channels to help speed up editing and post-production if you just want to do voiceovers later on. And the fact is, using GoPro Labs enables so many additional features that aren't available on other cameras, and to be honest, they really are quite useful. I mean, I run Labs on all my compatible GoPro cameras, and if you want a GoPro, you should be using this official firmware too. Now, before I deliver my final verdict on the GoPro Max 2, well, this actually is the GoPro Max 2, I don't overdo jokes. I asked viewers to submit any questions they had about the Max 2 and I'd answer them, so let's see what people had to say. So question number 1, does the Max 2 have HDR modes? No, it does not have HDR modes. I mean, like any HDR modes, except for the HDRI photography mode, which you have to enable with Labs, but HDR mode would technically mean doubling the frame rate, as the camera would have to take 2 exposures, then combine them into a single frame all in real time. So an 8K video shot at 30 frames per second would actually be an 8K video shot at 60 frames per second and then rendered into 8K 30 frames per second all on the fly. And that would take a lot more work for this camera. So considering how hot the camera runs, I can't see that's something that even gets introduced with the firmware upgrade. Question number 2, does the camera use the same batteries as the Max? No, it does not. The Max 2 uses a completely different battery that's completely different size than the Max 1. So if you buy a Max 2, you have to have all new batteries and a new charger. Question number 3, does this camera work underwater? No. The extreme curvature of the 360 lenses means that if you shoot underwater with this camera, you're going to get light splitting or chromatic aberrations. This makes your footage basically look blurry and out of focus. Even on regular non-360 cameras, they do suffer from this, but they have a flat lens protector in front of them, which provides an air gap, which stops this distortion from happening. So to work underwater, the GoPro Max 2 would actually need a special case, and to their credit, GoPro said they are working on a special underwater case for this camera. So once that case is released, then you will be able to use it underwater. Can you use the contacto door with this camera? Unfortunately not. Since the battery is a different size, the battery door is a different size as well than the contacto door, which is compatible with the Hero 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So the contacto door won't fit this camera. Now, GoPro do have a USB-C pass-through door that's weatherproof, I should say. It's not waterproof, it's weatherproof. But I did use it in the rain myself without any issues. But if you look kind of closely here, GoPro have put the USB port right at the top near the hinge door. And because of that, I doubt there's going to be any type of future contacto door for this. Being so close to the hinge, it would actually just break the USB port. So yeah, unfortunately, the USB-C pass-through door is probably the closest thing you're going to get to a weatherproof power supply for this camera. Question number 5, how long does the battery last? Well, that's going to depend on what you're filming and how you have your camera set up. For me, I tend to stop and start my cameras and only record very specific scenes. I never leave them recording non-stop. So honestly, how long the battery lasts will be entirely up to you. If you've used GoPro Labs to increase the bitrate, that's going to shorten your battery life, but I'd expect maybe to get an hour out of it. I can't really say because I don't film for long periods of time at a time. Question number 6, and that's from the GoPro advertisements. Is there a noticeable difference when you boost that bitrate to 300 megabits per second? And again, that depends on what you're filming. I mean, do I recommend that the average person boosts their bitrate? No. If you're just walking around with the camera or doing a simple vlog, or even if you're just casually kind of uploading clips to Instagram or TikTok, then no, you really don't need to bump up the bitrate. No one's going to see that difference because they kind of do their own re-encoding at a lower bitrate anyway. On the other hand, if you're going to be creating footage for an 85-inch screen and you're going to be doing car or motorbike racing and doing a lot of very kind of like fast moving action sports and editing the footage professionally in a video editor, then yes, you will benefit from bumping up your bitrate. However, this means you're also going to have to film professionally too, just shoot for a few seconds or minutes at a time, plan your shots in advance. Those higher bit rates are for professional filmmakers, and the average user, they just won't experience kind of like any benefit from it. The only thing they'll experience is quicker camera overheating and absolutely huge file sizes, so do be aware of that. Then question number 7, are you able to capture non-horizon leveling footage in 360 mode so that if you're on a bike, you can actually see that bank when you're leaning into a corner on a motorbike? And no, and that's not surprising as that's kind of not the way 360 cameras film. I mean, with a single lens camera, there's kind of like a fixed horizon orientation due to the shape and size of that sensor, if you will. With a 360 camera, since you're filming in a sphere, that type of bank kind of doesn't really kind of exist on the way it's kind of filmed. So no, there's no option to disable the horizon leveling or stabilization in the Max 2 that I know of. However, I found it was quick and easy to add a keyframe or two in the editing software in post, and that allowed me to have a manual kind of bank in there. And that was actually quite good because I could, like I said, manually control the angle of the bank on screen so I could make it look more or less dramatic. So it won't film that bank, but that's kind of a good thing if you ask me. And then bonus question here, what format is the rendered video from the camera? Is it 1440 upscaled to 4K like the original Max was? Now, that's a mistake. That's not actually how the original Max works. The original Max recorded in 3K per sensor and then stitched that together to have a 6K image, but basically parts of that image had an overlap, which meant that your image came out at 5.6K. That was the actual resolution. People get confused because they see, when they click on properties, they see 1440 and they think, okay, so it's upscaling, it's only a 1440 image, but that's not how it actually works because basically older cameras that use ERP formats are using two semicircles joined together, which basically gives them what looks to be a much larger image. But basically the way the Max and the Max 2 works is that they actually use a format which is called cube maps. And cube maps is a way of taking your image, dividing it in two, and then folding it over so there's 3 sides per cube and merging together. But once you unfold those cubes, it looks like a much longer 1440 image, but there's 2 of them laying on top of each other. It gets complicated. It's a huge answer, and I need to put diagrams and everything. But no, the original Max did not record in 1440p and upscale the image, nor does the Max 2 record in 1440p and upscale the image. I assure you, if you know how that whole cube map things works, the GoPro Max 2 records in true 8K resolution, unlike the competitors, which have a much lower resolution. Trust me on that. I know my shit. So the big question that's going to be on everybody's mind is, at the end of the day, should you buy this camera or should you buy one of the competitors' models? And that's kind of an interesting question to ask, but kind of like, I guess it depends on how honest you can be with yourself. Sometimes the idea of having something outweighs the practicality. I mean, we all want a Lamborghini Diablo, but if you're in a furniture moving business, it's probably the wrong choice of vehicle. So for me, why did I choose the Hero Max 2? Well, at the end of the day, I mean, it may not shoot well in low light, but then again, if I go back through all my footage over the years, you know how much I shoot in low light? Zero, nada, nothing. If I'm filming in low light or at night, I'm using night lapse or star trails mode. And guess what? The GoPro has night lapse and star trails mode and, you know, light painting and vehicle lights and all that. So it does the night shots that I want. But what I do film is a lot of scenic shots, a lot of shots from an airplane wing, and in that regard, I need the highest amount of detail possible out of a camera. I need the clearest image possible and the highest resolution possible. And for that, the GoPro Max 2 is the camera of choice. I need to be able to crop and zoom in on that final picture, and a camera that pretends to be 8K versus a camera that actually is 8K, well, the choice seems obvious to me. And then there's the extra features being offered by the GoPro Labs. I mean, being able to customize your camera, set up motion triggers, sound triggers, adjust bit rates, create custom exposure curves, set minimum and maximum shutter speeds with custom exposure dampening. I'm sorry, but this is where the Hero Max 2 excels. Yes, it's consumer friendly and easy to use, but when you're finished being an amateur and you want to get even more professional looking results, I mean, this camera gives you the ability to do that, and that's something the competition doesn't even come near to doing. So I guess at the end of the day, it's going to be about what you want or need from your camera. If you spend a lot of time filming in low light conditions or making videos at night, sure, you may want to look at a different model, especially if you don't edit your footage professionally or you've never learned how to do that. On the other hand, if you're like me and film in daylight and demand the best image quality possible in that filming condition, then yeah, the GoPro Max Hero 2 is the obvious choice. So that's my honest take on this camera. I think the next 2 years will be interesting for sure. GoPro may bring out some accessories to up your filming game, and they're already talking about making improvements on the GoPro Player software. I mean, for God's sakes, GoPro, give me an easy way to update Google Street View, for crying out loud. That's all I want, okay? It'll be perfect then. So folks, thanks for watching the video. I hope you've learned something new and that you tune in next time. And until then, well, I'm going to have more fun with this camera and we'll see what we can get up to. So until next time, cheerio.